What's going on YouTube? It's your boy FlagCap. Welcome to another YouTube video discussion. Today we're going to be taking a look at The Division. So first of all, I'm really excited to be able to bring you guys some gameplay of this because for a long time I actually thought that my PS4 would not sync with my capture card and that I was just unable to do console games and console walkthroughs and that kind of stuff anymore. That's like what I was thinking for about the past month. But the more I looked into it, I realized that it was just a setting in my PS4 that was blocking some content from being able to sync and to be exported, I guess. So once I just switched that setting, I was actually able to connect my capture card and it was able to sync the video, which is really cool. It still wouldn't sync up with me having my PS4 and my webcam and Skype on the same call or on the same scene or whatever, unless I was using XSplit, and XSplit isn't compatible with my with my capture card. So basically what it means is if I do console stuff at the moment, there's not going to be a webcam, and it's just going to be me talking in the in-game audio if we're doing party chat there. And if I'm doing PC, I can do a webcam and Skype and my background music and all that kind of stuff so much easier. So for League videos, that's pretty much the easier way to go. But this is actually a mission here in The Division. This is a medical mission to receive supplies for your home base. And for those of you unfamiliar with Tom Clancy's The Division, it was just released by Ubisoft on the 8th of this month. And it is a third-person tactical shooter RPG MMO, whatever other fucking adjective you want to use to describe it. It's basically a mashup of all those things in the same way that Destiny was a mashup of that, but insert third-person shooting instead of first-person. And you pretty much get The Division, albeit with a different cosmetic. So I've played the game for about a week now, and you can see right ahead of me there is my buddy Refuge. We're both level 9, or I'm level 8 in this video. I hit level 9. After my session today, and we both had the game for about a week now. I did get it the day after it came out on the 9th, so I guess a little less than a week, but with working Monday through Friday, and I had some social stuff to do, social obligations, and some fun stuff I was doing with friends this weekend, so I wasn't able to play as much of the game as I would initially have liked. So I've probably played about 7 or 8 hours since I got it, which isn't a lot by any means, especially if you're talking about an MMORPG where people play that like 4 or 5 hours a day, just grinding for loot. And first, I'd like to say that I think the game is good. I would start off by saying that I'm really enjoying myself so far, and I'm having a great time with the game, and I think it's got some really smart systems in play for making this, what it is. And I think they do a lot of things better than Destiny, first and foremost of that being the storytelling. And while the narrative isn't huge in The Division, I mean, you're given a basic plot and you're given some main characters, an antagonist, a protagonist. We're not sure who the antagonist is yet, if it's a person in particular. There's some hints to that in the opening cinematic, but I don't want to spoil that too much, and I also don't know much about it from the game. But there is still a narrative woven, a lot more through collectibles, actually. Now, there's quite a few collectibles in this game. As you can see here, a lot of customization options. You have, whole different armor sets. You have DPS, and you have skill power, which affects your perks and your skills that you use with your left and right bumper. Your armor and your weapons can be all modified and crafted and deconstructed, and there's different tier levels. White being common, green gear is uncommon, blue is rare. I think yellow or purple. I think purple might be legendary, and then yellow is mythic. So it's something similar, again, to Destiny and a bunch of other RPGs. Even Diablo 3 had a color-based loot system that worked really, really well. Where the differences come in is in these elements you can see here. Being able to move up to cover just by holding the X button, being able to take cover and use gadgets. All that kind of stuff is really reminiscent of just Tom Clancy games in general. So you can see there I use my skill to pop all of their canisters and have them explode, make them weak, and then I'm able to finish them up with my SMG. But yeah, a lot of things that are really similar to other Tom Clancy games, especially the control scheme is a little weird. So holding down the left stick still sprints, but to take cover is X or A if you're playing on the Xbox One. And to vault over obstacles or to parkour is B, which seems like a weird choice to me. I would feel like X on the Xbox or square on the PlayStation controller should be for cover, and that vault and jump should be X or A. I don't know. It did seem kind of weird to me, but that's nothing new, especially if you've played the Splinter Cell series. Most definitely Ghost Recon. Really odd control schemes, especially in the early games. So they've carried that over here. There is also, you can see some loot that you can find. You can just get med kits, water, different supplies to use to craft, also to buff up your character and your gear. So all of that is really important. And yeah, the mini map that you can see in the upper left-hand side of the screen is really useful because it points you to all of these things that you can find. The map is, it's all of Manhattan. And when I say all of Manhattan, I mean all of fucking Manhattan in its entirety. Like there is, there's tons and tons of alleyways and just abandoned apartments and parking garages and railroads and subway stations. I mean, there's just all the like that you can explore. And without the minimap telling you where the loot is or where certain collectibles are, it would be really daunting to try and find that. So I'm really glad that they included that. And it's also nice because, as I was alluding to earlier, the story in this game is heavily told through collectibles and other things like that you can find around the map. Now, the collectibles come in forms of echoes, which are essentially 3D recreations of events that occurred previously. So it's like basically you're looking at video recordings but emulated in 3D around you, right? So you can see what happened. There's cell phone logs. There's missing, other missing agents that you can track down. There's surveillance footage that you can find from aerial drones and from, security cameras and all that kind of stuff. And so you start to get a picture of what happened to Manhattan and New York before you were enacted. So just briefly, the story for the Division is that someone contaminated the money supply with a virus, smallpox, on Black Friday. And since so many people, go shopping and go fucking crazy on Black Friday, everyone contracted, or most people contracted some form of the disease, caused widespread panic, widespread death, evacuations, eventual quarantines, and now with the loss of order, you are sent in and enacted the Division, a super secretive class of, espionage peoples, to go in and kind of fix Manhattan and drive out the raiders and all the other street gangs that have come to power since the government basically left the city. Throughout all of the game, there's allusions to 9/11 and other catastrophes that have happened in New York. A lot of the citizens and recordings you find will say, we've been through this before. It's what New Yorkers do. We have to stick strong like we have in the past. So they touch on that, and you see a good deal of memorials around the city, and statues that are erected in order to kind of tell the story of what happened. So Ubisoft is playing on, American conventions of terrorist attacks and, an eventual fall and breakdown of normal life, to kind of drive their point home. And, it's an interesting choice. Like, I think that immediately it's going to invest people in the story because it's a very real, grounded thing. We're not, as in Destiny, on foreign planets in our solar system and driving around spaceships and stuff. We're in a very nitty and gritty, broken down and almost in an anarchy state. Yeah, an anarchy state for Manhattan. So it's really, really cool to explore. So some of the favorite things I like about it are the story and the way that the loot and your gear and your collectibles kind of tell that story. And I also really like the gunplay. I was a fan of Splinter Cell Blacklist quite a bit, and of the older Ghost Recon titles. So I think that that every gun is a little bit different. You have to aim them slightly differently. Their recoils are separate. Their range, everything is realistic to what the gun that you're using is. You can see here I'm doing some sniping. Much more effective in further range than the SMG that I'm carrying, although a lower DPS, damage per second. So the gunplay feels good. The only thing is that's not really realistic about it is the fact that you have to shoot some of these seemingly normal people, these riders and stuff. They're not wearing any armor. They're just wearing a hoodie and jeans, and yet you have to pump them with like 75, probably not 75, but like 25 SMG bullets at times to kill them. And that's just, because it is an RPG, and Ubisoft has said, I keep saying Ubisoft or Ubisoft? I need to decide. Ubisoft. Ubisoft has even said that they wanted it to first and foremost be an RPG before it was a shooter.
Okay, Agent.
And it definitely has that feel. I think that the character progression and the way that they advance you throughout the world and the story is really unique. And one of the other great things about this game is that up until, I played this mission with my friend Grayson, or Refuge, but I've played maybe one other mission with him, and before that, I'd played almost the entire game solo, and, didn't feel the need to jump into matchmaking if I didn't want to. I see people around the world, and you can, You can kind of interact with them and join in quests together and do missions, but there's not really a need to if you don't want to. So it kind of caters to those people who like to play those lone wolf sort of experiences, and it also caters to the people that are really, really social and like to play these kind of games with big groups of their friends and stuff like that. Now, I haven't played any of the Dark Zone yet, which is the game's PvP mode, and also what I hear to be the place where you get the best loot, and also where the most, like, essentially fun is to be had in the game. The reason for that is because they recommend, or at least they, as in, like, reviewers and people that I've heard that have played the game, look at this plank, they recommend that you don't go into that area until you're level 30, and 30 is the max level for the story mode, much like 30 is the max level in Destiny. I think we're seeing some parallels here that they're drawing things from Destiny, huh? But anyway, yeah, so once you hit level 30, the Dark Zone is the place to go. To get to level 30 doesn't seem to be too bad. Like I've said, I've played about maybe 6 to 7 hours in the last like week total since I got it, or 5 or 6 days since I got it. And I'm level 9, almost 10 now, so almost a third of the way there. And you would think, okay, that progression slows down, obviously, because you're going to be needing way more XP to level up. And that's true, and side missions and encounters and those kinds of things don't give you that much XP, but the main missions in the story, or in this game, excuse me, actually give you a decent amount of XP, so that by the time you get to, this woman needs to shut up. By the time you get to like the later missions in the game, you're going to be getting, 25,000 XP or something like that per mission, so you level up really quickly.
Don't worry, Doctor. We'll get it all worked out.
I hope so. It's only the survival of the human species we're talking about.
Copy that, Doc. Patel out.
Gosh, long-winded conversations in some of these points. Sorry about that. But anyway, continuing on. So the character progression I think is really good for the game. I haven't felt like it's a drag. I do think that if you're one of those people, and most people are with MMOs, where you want to play it a whole bunch right when it comes out, and you want to grind and get to max level, and get as far as you can, that you might get kind of burnt out on the mission design, because from what I've seen, it's a little bit repetitive, especially with the side missions. So that could get a little annoying, but if you're someone who wants to play this game casually, and since we know that support for this game is going to continue for a while, there's a season pass already detailed with huge expansions and stuff like that. Since we already know that, I think that if you kind of take this game slowly, in the sense like you want to play a couple hours a day, or you want to play a few hours a week or something like that when you have time, you'll really get a lot of good mileage out of this game. And I also don't think that you'll get sick of it very quickly. I've written a couple articles and talked previously about how I was a little sick of open world titles and RPGs, and then of course I get Bloodborne and this game within like a month of each other, and I'm kind of like slowly going through them. And what I realized was that, while I was sick of some of the tropes and things in those games, like, part of that comes with the way that you play those larger games and experiences. If you try to just grind them out, it is going to be monotonous. It is going to be like checklist formula of doing one thing, grab this, take it back to base, turn in the quest, get XP, do the same thing again, upgrade your base again. It does get repetitive. But if you're not playing it too much, it really contains its value a lot better, I think. And and as games have more DLC and stuff that's guaranteed, and like we were discussing with season passes, it just makes more sense to kind of take them slowly, so you don't, or to beat it and then set the game down for a while and then come back when the DLC's out, not to just like push through it all at once. So the enemy that you saw there and here with yellow health bars and little bits of extra health above their initial bars is the bosses or the elite encounters in the game. They have chances to drop better gear, and you can see this green light right here is some loot I got. And that pulse I sense off, senses all the enemies in the area, increases my critical percent or critical strike damage, and does a whole bunch of other stuff. That right there is my right bumper, the sticky bomb again. So at my current level, I can only have 2 of those things equipped, and 1 passive slot out of 5, I think, 1 of 5 passive perks or abilities. And you get perks by upgrading your home base. And there's 3 different wings to your home base. There's the medical, the technical, and the security wing. Each one gives you different upgrades and different passives that, give you more inventory space, or give you 1 extra med kit space, or make it so you passively generate resources for crafting once a day, stuff like that. But a couple of them even go into detail of saying, like, increase your Dark Zone extraction time or your Dark Zone capacity by 1. So that's what I mean when I say that you're really not meant to jump into that area of the game, the PvP and stuff, until you have a good foothold in the story. You can see right there, we're able to take out the boss. Just going to use this keypad here and head on up to finish off the mission. I'm walking around here because I see that there's an indicator on my map for a cell phone, and that's a little collectible that you can find. So, and since I'm a slave for collectibles and a sucker for them, I was really, really pissed to not see it down there. But we find it eventually. So that's a typical, now this isn't a main mission, but it's not a side quest or like a just quick instance either. This is a definite mission in the game, you know, it's a smaller one for resources for my medical wing so that I can upgrade it. But it's a good example, I thought, of, you know, what the mission structure is like. We played it with 2 people on normal difficulty. You can replay the missions as much as you want on hard difficulty too for even more of a challenge. I tried one mission on hard solo and I was not able to meet it. I was able to get to the point where the boss comes out and then he killed me in, you know, 2 bullets or something like that. And when all the enemies are focused on you, it's really hard. I do think that the main missions and some of the larger stuff in the game are meant to be completed by 4 people in a group together. You can see my mission reward right there is a gun, level 8 gun. Pretty good. All that stuff right there that shows up. But it does seem like some of them are catered more towards 4-player experiences. But like I said, one of the things I really admire about the game is that they let you do it all solo if you want. You could theoretically grind to get better gear and do the whole thing on your own and never have to play with someone else if you don't want to, and only encounter them in passing. And part of that does go a long way to making New York feel like it's abandoned and deserted, and you're part of like the final echelon of people that are trying to pull it all together. So I think good stuff overall for the game. I'm going to be trying to do a podcast for this game with some webcams and stuff. We actually recorded part of it earlier today, but it's not going to go up for a little while. And I think look at the cell phone. 6 of 130, holy crap. And I think that I'm going to be doing 1 or 2 more of these videos for the first couple weeks that I play the game. And if it merits it, if my thoughts on the game change, if I feel like I'm, getting more or less out of the experience, something like that, I'll update it. To reflect that. But for now, I'd really, I'd say try it out if you like these kinds of games, if you like Tom Clancy games, and if you like MMOs, it's a really, really good experience. For more on The Division, stay tuned to your boy Flycap, and I'll catch you later. Take care, and peace.